Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. If you haven't heard this story, it is very important that you hear it because this is just more proof of the convenience of this story coming out, of how they are making sure that right now, every civilian in the United States of America is emotionally invested to one party versus the other. They do not want anybody out there separating from the left-right paradigm because they will not be able to manipulate you and herd you. And of course, this psychological operation won't work on you if you're not participating in the game. So Donald Trump, after this event occurred, where his life was supposedly taken, made a phone call. How convenient. 24 hours later, less than 24 hours later, this is what we're told. He made a phone call to RFK Jr. How do we know that he made a phone call? Well, because conveniently, RFK Jr.'s son, Bobby Kennedy III, posted on his Twitter/X account the conversation that occurred between RFK and Donald Trump, who sounds perfectly fine, of course. He's not. And that's because Donald Trump's so tough, right? He's perfectly fine after someone attempted to take his life. He's not, he's out playing golf the next day. He's making phone calls to RFK where he's cracking jokes. But what is the means of the conversation? What is the basis of this phone call? Well, the basis of the phone call is that Donald Trump called RFK to criticize the vaccines. That's what Donald Trump called less than 24 hours later. He called RFK to criticize the vaccine. So you say to yourself, why, from a psychological standpoint, does something like this come out right after that event? Because the one thing that's out there that they didn't expect, which I mentioned, was the pushback on the vaccines when everything went down. They didn't expect so many people to be anti-vax. The anti-vax movement was very small before all this stuff went down. There were still people getting flu shots. There were still people who were vaccinating their children at birth, right? And when this occurred, a mass awakening, in a sense, happened because people started to realize what they were really trying to do. All of the evidence was coming out of all the things we were all talking about. Let's just call it the black goo. For people out there that, understand, you know what I'm saying with the black goo. For those of you that don't, you can join the website and you can learn about that black goo, that nano, how important it is to get in your body. So, Donald Trump is the one who had Operation Warp Speed, right? Donald Trump is the one who came out and gave us this magic potion. Now, when that happens, a lot of people started to get suspicious. And when they flipped regimes, it was done by design because they wanted to make sure conservatives got it first and then Democrats went and got it. They didn't want it to be a political thing, but it turned into a political thing because conservatives suddenly became very anti-vax. So what did they do? Well, of course, the CIA created QAnon movement, started to say that Joe Biden switched out Donald Trump's vaccine, right? But that narrative didn't work very well because while a small portion of mind control zombies actually believe every single word that comes out of Q, as if the government couldn't go and stop Q and arrest Q, as if they're not, what does he have? He has a VPN that the government can't get through, that the government can't stop him, even though the government created and is responsible for the internet and they could see all. That's what Big Brother is, the all-seeing eye, Big Brother, right? So Q put that out there and it didn't work, right? So the one thing that we've all had, that we've all used as a way to get people to kind of go, well, you're right about Donald Trump, is of course the vaccine. The Operation Warp Speed was Donald Trump's, right? And a lot of those regular people didn't take that QAnon narrative because a lot of regular people don't go deep into the conspiracy hole, right? So a lot of regular people were bothered by that and they go, yeah, Well, now, of course, after that event on Donald Trump, they really want you invested in the left-right as we head towards November 5th. So what better way to do it than to have this quote-unquote leaked phone call that I'll play for you right now between Donald Trump, less than 24 hours after someone supposedly tries to blow his head off, and RFK. And what's the conversation? What does Trump want to talk about? He wants to talk about the vaccines, of course. Why? Because they want to make sure that anybody out there that was on the edge who still was saying to themselves, I think that they want to go after him, but I don't know, that whole vaccine thing, right? Trump is the one that rolled out. Well, now they want to take that narrative off the table because here's Trump bashing the vaccine, saying that, well, he wasn't really in support of certain things about the vaccine, certainly not how big the doses were and giving it to children. And this conveniently leaked, and then Bobby Kennedy Jr., of course, deleted it. And now this story is all over the place. Now, keep in mind when you listen to this, it doesn't even sound like Donald Trump, if you ask me. But the mainstream media is reporting this as real, right? So if the mainstream media is reporting it as real, that means the people out there who hear it will believe it. It doesn't matter if we look at it and say it's probably just, it doesn't even sound like Trump, it's an actor. So the point is that if the media is telling you it's real, they want you to hear this and think that this is some secret convo that the world's not supposed to hear because Bobby Kennedy leaked it. Bobby Kennedy Jr. leaked it on Twitter and then deleted it, of course. But thankfully, all of the sleuths out there recorded it. And now it's on CNN and the mainstream media. Oh, how convenient. Listen to this convo.
I agree with you, man. Something's wrong with that whole system. Yeah. And, and it's the doctors you find. Remember I said I want to do small doses. Small doses. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that has like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving a horse this. And do you ever see the size of it, right? It's just massive. And then you see the baby all of a sudden starting to change radically. I've seen it too many times. And then you hear that it doesn't have an impact, right? But you and I talked about that a long time ago. And anyway, I would love you to do so. And I think it'll be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're way ahead of the guy. And, he's interesting. It was very nice, actually. He called me. And he said, how did you choose to move to the right? So I guess that's, people see it. If I was looking straight on, right? He said, I said, I was just showing a chart. I didn't have to tell him the chart was on all the people pouring into our country, right? But I just turned my head to show the chart. And something wrapped me. It felt like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito. And it was a bullet going around. What do they call that, an AR-15 or something? That's a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
So that's something they pretend that they don't want you to hear, right? Even though CNN's putting it out there for you to hear. And the purpose of this is CNN and everything the liberal media does, despite these people out there who think they're awake and think they get how all this stuff works, everything that the liberal media has done has been to gain more support for Trump. They think everything that they've done, the Republicans, is to slander Trump, to discredit Trump. All of the stuff the media has done has gained more Trump supporters because everybody out there sees how corrupt the media is and they go, oh man, they're saying this, they're trying to throw Trump in jail for what? Meanwhile, we have criminals running amok. Everybody out there should realize that they're getting worked. And all the liberal media by bashing Trump is doing is gaining more support. And the government knows this. The elites know this. They know mind control to a T. I use the example all the time, right? Of going to the zoo. You watch the zoo animals, right? You watch them through the fences and you see a lion and you see how the human being tames the lion. Well, they studied the lion. They know how to tame the lion so that the lion doesn't eat them when they come into the room to give them some meat, right? That's because of the lion's human brain. They've studied it. They've studied you like a zoo animal. They've studied all of us like zoo animals, and they know how the brain works. So by doing this stuff in the media and making Trump out to be a victim, they know that you're going to support him. They don't have to come out on CNN and say, vote for Trump, support Trump. That wouldn't work because that's not how humans work, right? Now, Democrats in one case, a lot of them are so dumbed down that it does work a little bit, but they know that the more they victimize him, because that's the ultimate key, the more they martyr somebody, the more support they gain. And then they make you feel all the stuff that's going on with Donald Trump, like censorship. You feel like the government's after you, the IRS agents, all these stories they deliberately put out. What do you think the IRS story's out there for? How would you know that they hired 10,000 more IRS agents or 80,000 more, whatever the number is now? How would you ever know? Why would they ever tell you? They tell you it to gaslight you. Oh, and Trump's going to get rid of those IRS, because everybody feels like, wow, the government's really coming after us. All right, IRS agents. That's the point. That's the point. And oh, Trump will save us from that. So this story, when CNN puts it out, isn't for people out there to go, oh, can you believe it? Trump's bashing the vaccine again. It's for people out there who have been skeptical of Donald Trump because of it, who now hear this and go, oh, all right. Well, now we know how Donald Trump really feels about it. That's great. His secret conversation was somehow released by the son of Robert F. Kennedy, and nobody thinks that this stuff is deliberate. That's the crazy part. But that's the psychosis. That's what I talk about with the actual event that occurred on Saturday, right? You have conservatives who literally claim that the 6th day of January was a government inside job, right? Which it was, which all these events are on both sides. BLM, they all claim that those things are government created, George Soros created, right? But when it comes to this, they can't imagine that the government would stage and create this because they don't realize that they're doing it to bait the same people who question January 6th, who won't question this. They're using it as a mind control mechanism on them. And they don't believe that because they're deep in the hypnosis. You see how many people have commented. They're like, you're the hypnosis. Some of these brain dead Trumpers, they come on, you're the hypnosis. They don't realize that we're all trying to help everybody, especially Christians, come out of this because they're really being duped by the devil himself. And I'm not saying, they're like, why do you hate Donald Trump so much? You support Joe Biden? It's like they can't grasp this, right? You know, many people have commented like, well, we got a Biden supporter. Oh, you support Biden then? They can't grasp this notion of we don't support, I don't, and I don't speak for people, on their behalf on my channel, but I know the majority have the same mindset. Okay, I don't believe in the left-right paradigm, which means that I think the entire thing is staged and act, and I don't just believe it, I know it. And everybody out there with common sense should know. So I don't believe, for me to criticize Trump, they think it means I'm going to vote for Biden or support Biden. I don't support either party. And then that bothers them the most, not supporting either party, which again is part of their communist training to support the party that they don't even realize has been done to them. They can't get over the fact that there's people who don't vote, who don't believe in the party, who know it's a sham, because they think that they're making these decisions for the government. The government's making the decisions for you, and you're falling into the deception thinking you're being empowered by your vote. Thus, they can blame you for all the chaos they continue to create, and that's what's going to eventually come here, where the left and the right blame one another for the chaos that ensues when it's really the government working together to cause it, and then blame you for it, right? That's how simple it is. It's really simple. So the leaked video that I showed you of the phone call between Robert F. Kennedy and Trump shows the former president expressing doubt about the magic potions, or you might as well just call them the vaccines at this point, and recounting the attempt on his life and his subsequent phone call with President Biden, right? So you heard him talk about Biden and talk about the rifle. I mean, it's laughable, right? And the majority of people out there, when they hear that, they're just like, wow, Trump's really unfazed by it. He's tough. He's strong. Instead of going, wow, something a little off about how he's behaving. He's playing golf the next day. He's not staying close to it. They just look at him and they think he's tough. They don't realize that it's literally the term political theater is a real term we've all heard before, right? You're watching it. Political theater. And I really hope that a lot of Democrats and libs and kids who watch the channel and troll it or whatever can start waking up to this stuff, okay? Because they go after me and they think that I support Trump, so they go after me. And they don't realize that I'm telling you that it's not real, right? But it's really hard for everybody to grasp that the news is manufactured, that it's no different than going into a movie theater and watching a film. You're just told that the news is real. You're told over and over that it's real. And the way that it's shot and it's filmed, they believe that it's real. They don't believe that there's green screens involved in these wars. They don't believe that all these people on the news, they trust them, right? Because that's part of the hypnosis. They trust the news anchor that they don't know, just like they trust the politicians that they don't know, right? And they've been trained to, of course, not trust the opposing political party and their news channels when they're all corrupt working together. It's as simple as that. So, as you heard in the conversation, this is what Trump said, for those of you that couldn't really hear. He said, remember I said, I want to do small doses, Trump added, echoing childhood vaccine-related comments he made on the debate stage in 2015. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that is like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a, 10-pound or 20-pound baby. Trump referenced previous such conversations with Kennedy, against whom he has regularly leveled personal attacks this election season, saying, you and I talked about that a long time ago. Kennedy said, yup, right? So this is because there's a lot of people out there that are supporting RFK based solely off of the vaccines because he's anti-vax. And that's true. A lot of people are just like, I'm picking him because they're mad at Trump because Trump is the one who rolled it out. And they want to pull those people back into the left-right paradigm, right? That's what they want to do. So they don't want them supporting RFK. They want them supporting Trump. And if he just came out and Trump just changed his opinion, it wouldn't mean much, but because it's a private conversation with RFK. And he says stuff like, I've talked to you about it in the past. People don't realize they're being programmed and they're like, oh, Trump never really believed in the vaccine in the first place, right? Even though a couple of years ago, when Biden was put back into power, Trump was going around talking, 6 months, 8 months after that, bragging about the vaccine, saying he wants credit for it, right? And I was laughing and I was showing the videos to people, making content like I always do. And people out there were like, oh, yeah, he is still talking about it. I mean, this is proof in the pudding, right? So they don't want any of that proof in the pudding. This is to make sure people eliminate that from their minds. You haven't heard a peep about Operation Warp Speed, have you? No. They want you to forget about it. And this is a perfect way to do it because this is supposed to be a private conversation that you're not supposed to be privy to, right? That's why his son recorded it, his own father, and released it on the internet. And give me a break. Oh, but he deleted it. Oh, yeah. Before people could capture it and it could be on CNN, right? Because this makes it look more credible. This is Mind Control 101. And it's very important to the psychosis that you invest in it. You have to invest in it for it to work. People go, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to rebel. We're supposed to do this. Don't invest in it. Pull out of it. If everybody just didn't vote and stopped believing in this, they would have to pull back years and years and years of the mind control that they put on people and start a different path towards what they want to do, which is destroy the infrastructure, destroy the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Remember, they need to destroy the infrastructure. You're going to destroy the infrastructure, but it only happens if you believe in this and you do what they want you to do. You're not going to do what they want you to do unless you emotionally invest in it, right? People said they're like, I'm not going to do what they tell me to do. You're already doing it by believing in these two candidates and these two parties. So the reaction that you're having is the reaction they want you to have. The things you're going to do after November 5th are the things they've wanted you to do all along. Just you think you're going to be freely doing it when you leave when states leave the union and Republicans move away from Democrats and they're now living in different states. They're like, we're doing this. We're making a choice. We've had enough. That's what they've been training you to do. Problem, reaction, solution 101. So Trump is out there and he's now anti the same potion that he rolled out. But of course, the government created Q movement will tell you that Trump's always, it's a different one. They swapped it, right? But that propaganda didn't work that well. This right here is for the majority of the masses out there that don't follow conspiracy so they could say, hey, Trump is anti-vax. Okay. In case they remember, because that's really been the only sticking point that people have had who are anti-Trump, who lean conservative, has been the vaccines, when they should just be separated from the left, the right, and the middle, as if RFK is in compromise too. It's an utter joke how they make it like, oh, RFK is not allowed to debate with them. He must know something they don't, right? RFK is going to play a big role in the future as well with what happens on November 5th. Deliberately, right? They've chosen RFK based on the Kennedy name. Kennedy's one of the Illuminati bloodlines, of course. And then, of course, the stuff that's going to come with the assassination and Kennedy in the mix with all this stuff. It's a show. It's literally a show that people are pretending, or not pretending, people are believing is real. They're living in a simulated reality. That expression, simulated reality, everyone's heard it before. This is what it is right here. Believing this stuff as this is the reality they're perceiving. They're going to work today, right? They're talking about the assassination, right? So their whole reality, they think that that's the real. It's like going to work and talking about, Rocky, right? Or talking about The Godfather, talking about some movie at the water cooler, but not talking about it saying, did you see that scene? That was great. Talking about it passionately as if it was real. I can't believe that, Rocky and Apollo went to a draw and they gave it to Apollo. Like, what? Huh? That's what this is. Just they can't wrap their heads around that. Their perception of reality is coming through the lens of the news. That's a controlled lens. That's the devil's lens. That's the prince of the power of the air that the Bible references, the air waves. I thank everybody for being here. I appreciate you guys greatly. God bless all of you and your families.